Hi folks, how you doing? I'm Ross Minton, and as always, this is Grow Your Own Life. It's been an interesting season this, hasn't it? Yeah, it's been wet. And as you've just seen, I've been trying to get some bark down. Kind of got caught in a storm really. The tree surgeon called me up with a load of bark, and unfortunately he didn't have a tipper. And as we were unloading it, it started to thunder. And then I soon realised that I was standing on a big pile of bark with a metal rake in a thunderstorm. So it was a bit sketchy, to say the least. Anyway, it's my favourite time of year down the allotment. As you probably know, I like to enjoy the summer, and I like to try and get most of my work done in the autumn and winter and early spring so I can enjoy the good weather. So I've been down the plot the last few days. I've been ferrying some bark as and when I can up and down. I've been tidying up my paths, and I've been putting quite a bit of it in my compost bin, because bark chippings, bark mulch, even if it's got a bit of leaf in it, more's the better. It makes some absolutely fantastic compost. And if you've been watching my videos over the last few years, you know this, because you've seen just how good my compost is, using the really easy method of basically piling it up in raised beds and let it compost naturally on its own without doing anything to it really. One nice thing about the last few days working down the plot is I've had some help. If you've been watching my videos over the years, you've probably seen the odd bit of footage of my lad Seth, and there's definitely a couple of metal detecting videos with him in it. Well, he's 18 now, bless him, and I can finally put him to proper work. As you can see, he's a good lad, although he's not so small anymore. So how long I can get him to help out down the plot, I do not know. If you want to do the next 2 barrows down that bit. Squirrel's having a mackie, that's what he's doing. Look at the size of him, he's a fatty. Or she is. No wonder. Eating mackies all day.
I'll get run over. Wow, it's coming!
Where's he gone now? Down there. I got it. There he is.
Can I go and pick him up?
No, I'll probably bite you and give you rabies.
Look, he's right there. We'll do it here then.
No, no. Look, there's another one on the wall. They're all coming.
Squirrels always eat nuts with 2 hands, always 2 hands. And occasionally they stop and go, as if they're going, did I leave the gas on? No, I'm a fucking squirrel.
Hi folks, how you all doing? I hope you're all keeping well. It's been an interesting year, hasn't it? I think we've had one of the wettest allotment seasons that I've known in like, what, 8-9 years? And you know, a lot of farmers saying obviously it's the wettest harvest and wettest season they've had for like decades. But although it's been a tough year, and I've by no means smashed it out of the park this year with food production wise, I've still had quite a lot, and I've definitely broke even. I've more than broke even actually. And now I've got to sort out some potatoes, because these are my late planted potatoes. I pulled some up yesterday and they were looking all right. I need to get as many out of the ground as possible get them stored away, or at least get the pots dry. So, as always, I reuse my compost. So I like to empty my potatoes out on top of one of my raised beds, because at least that way, and I don't waste any compost, or gets anything that falls off gets reused. Oh, I missed. My aim is dreadful. Yeah, I had 1 pot of potatoes I harvested yesterday. I probably had 1 kilo of new potatoes from it, and I'm just a bit concerned now that the slugs will have a go if I leave them too long because of how wet it's been. But yeah, as I was saying, I had a pretty good season, I think, considering all the circumstances. I've had a few raspberries, a few strawberries, loads of black currants, a few gooseberries, loads of rhubarb. Grapes have done okay, not as good as last year, but I had more than a few punnets of grapes. And obviously when you think about I'm eating organic, very few food miles produce, and you factor in that it would cost a fortune to buy it from you know, a farmer's market. It's not like the, you know, the cheap veg you get in the supermarket. I've more than broke even. You know, I'm probably maybe put a grand's worth of food in the house, £1,000 worth of food maybe, which is down normally. I normally say to people I put between £2,000 and £5,000 worth of food through the kitchen of like good quality produce. Try and eat seasonally. By no means are we self-sufficient. I want to get that out there. We're not self-sufficient at all. Tried it, you've seen my videos. I like to call it semi-self-sufficiency. By that I mean, instead of going to the farmer's market and spending 30 quid a week on really good produce, I'm growing some really good produce, but I still have to top that up with other things. But you know what I do from watching my videos. I go to the farm and buy half a lamb, and that'll keep us going and things like that. So it's all swings and roundabouts, isn't it? That's 1 pot of potatoes. So that's not too bad, not too bad at all. It's an absolutely gorgeous day as well. I do like the autumn down the allotment. I do like the autumn, it's nice. We've also had another good harvesting. And I've got pumpkins. Not as many as I'd hoped. These have got to go in the greenhouse actually. There we go. My pumpkin harvest was probably one of the worst this year. I got some sunflower heads for the chickens, as well as some dodgy sweet corn from the other plot as well, which the chickens will enjoy. So yeah, like I said, there's a few quids there. Those pumpkins alone, it's probably like 10 quid if you went to a farmer's market and bought them. A couple of quid each. Oh, right, crack on with the potatoes. I do this one and then I'll call it a day for potatoes, and I'll have a look at something else. I don't know how, oh hello big slug. I don't know how all you found this year. From watching YouTube videos, there's a lot of people who've done far better than me, and I think this year has been a year for gardeners where you've had to be on your A game. You've had to put the time in, and you've also had to be a bit lucky as well. If you've lived in one of the areas that's been flooded or been just stupidly wet, there's not been a fat lot you can do about it really. Oh, it's got scab. But yeah, I mean, these potatoes went in late. They're all right. There's a few feeds in there. They're quite tasty actually. I made some chips with some yesterday. And my compost, look at these worms. Look at them. Look at them beauties. There you go, worms, go and do your job. As you've probably seen from my compost method, that I like to mix rough compost in with a bit of good compost when I grow my potatoes. And I might not get a big harvest, but I'm not just growing potatoes, I'm also making compost. So this was some peat-free rough stuff, bit of horse manure and some soil conditioner, and what, 6 months with, well, not even that, 4 months with potatoes in it. Once this is sieved, this is really good now compost. You just got to try and get these little bits of potato out when you sieve it, otherwise you'll have potatoes growing in all your pots, which, to be perfectly honest, I don't mind too much, to be fair. Plot, if you remember, I had loads of sweet corn and stuff in, and oh, that's a good potato, look at that. And that one, a couple of jackets there. Yeah, if you remember at the other plot, I put some mulch down, some peat-free Asda mulch, and I got weed kill damage. So what I did was I didn't eat any of the sweet corn and stuff that was mulched with it. I let it grow though, and he might criticise me for this, but I'm going to give it to the chickens. I don't eat the chicken eggs anymore because they're old and retired, and she doesn't lay, and when she does lay, it's normally it's like a faux egg. If you're a chicken keeper, you'll know what I mean. Don't need to go into detail. So yeah, so they're going to have those. I mean, the sweet corn grew all right, but there was initial, almost like a bleaching period where all the colour went out the leaves, and then I put some more compost around it, but then I thought, it's weed killer, so I don't want to touch it. But my chickens are old and they're retired and they'll eat absolutely anything, and so I don't think there's a serious risk to them. Last one of the potatoes. Well, last one here. I got some more around the corner, but I'll leave them for another day because all this lifting is getting a bit too much now. Wow, cheaper than going to the gym though, isn't it? Cheaper than going to the gym. Oh, it's a good spud. So like I said, I'm nowhere near self-sufficient, but when you can put a few kilos of spuds in the kitchen every week, a few kilos of rhubarb, some lettuce, some tomatoes, some cucumbers, chilies. I haven't had many chilies this year, but we've had enough to do what I wanted to do with them. Certainly haven't been a glut. Tomatoes have been good, but they're later this year. Still picking them now, actually, in the polytunnel at home. Didn't grow any tomatoes down here this year. I was going to try a few different things. Tried some outdoor tomatoes on the other plot. Didn't work. I tried some outdoor tomatoes on the top of the drive. Now, they did work, but that rain we got earlier scuppered them a bit and set them back. So I had a load of green tomatoes there, but they struggled to ripen because the sun was dying in the sky. Those worms, bloody beautiful. All right, not the best harvest in the world. It's all right though, isn't it? Considering I put some old seed potatoes in a pot with some rubbish compost and left them there for what was essentially 90 days or something. Right, folks. I do like this time of year down the plot though, because it means I can get things done, like tidying up, and you know me, I like to let things go a bit wild. Sorry, spider, you'll have to remake that web. Oh, there's a good pumpkin down there. Should we get it? I didn't even know that was there. Oh. Couple of slugs on her. You're a brave slug on that prickly bit, aren't you? Ah, that's a good pumpkin. That can go in there. Go, just walk through a spider's web. I've got to clear all this path. Start with the thornless blackberries. Now one nice thing about these is I actually do loads of cuttings from these. So what I tend to do is, because they're actually really easy to root, cut them off like so. Make a hole in the ground like so. And literally just jab all that into the ground, cover it up and leave it. Now you think that that's like the rubbish way to take cuttings, and yeah, there's about 9 cuttings there and they won't all take, but 2 or 3 of them do, and you can just forget about them all year now. It's how I got all of these. I got 1 cutting given to me, and I just, every time I trimmed it back, I kept making more cuttings. Oh, I thought somebody was here. I don't like to record too much when people are here. I get embarrassed. Oh, there's another pumpkin. There's another one. Hello. You're growing all the way down there. I didn't know you were here either. Ah, that'll do. Plenty of docks in the greenhouse for the chickens as well. That's always good. Getting too close now, aren't I? Right, let's get all this in the compost bin. I have a few more pumpkins than I expected, thanks to those 2 I found. I mean, I was really hoping for a good pumpkin harvest this year. That's one of the things I set out, and I said I'm going to grow myself some good pumpkins. Best move them out of there so they don't get wet, because you can see from the wood here how obviously the rain gets in, but it doesn't there because the wood's dry. So but yeah, I was hoping for a really good harvest. I was like, this year is going to be pumpkin year, and I just struggled. I really struggled, and I don't know whether it's been the weather, because I've seen other people who've done far better than me on both allotments. I think I got my plants in late. Well, I think I put my seedlings in too early, and then they got caught by a cold spell, and then when they were recovered good enough to go out, they were too late. That's where I think I went wrong. I tried a few other experiments as well. Tried some sweet potato, some lazy sweet potato. I'd seen a thing online in a tropical climate of growing sweet potato, basically a bit like I grow cucumbers in a compost, in a plant pot with some water underneath, and basically just forget about them as long as you keep the tray filled up with water. I don't think it got warm enough this year for that to work. I'm sure if you did that in a warmer climate, it would work fine, but it didn't for me. But I will try it again next year, because I reckon if we have a good summer, I could get some serious sweet potatoes growing it that way. Very similar to my wheelie bin method. I don't know if you've seen that, if you watch my videos. I'm sure that there's only about 3 people watching this video now, but I've been inventing I haven't invented it, have I? Loads of people have been doing it for ages, but almost like a semi, what's it called? Hydroponic system. So you have a big deep tray of water, and then you put a plant pot full of compost in that water, but it has to be a tall pot, so the roots of the plant stay above the water, but they can go down and drink whenever they want. So the main root ball isn't sitting in water, basically. And I did that with a wheelie bin. So I had my wheelie bin, I drilled holes about halfway down, filled it up with food scraps, potato peelings, mouldy oranges, apples, anything that was in the kitchen that was organic matter went into the bottom of this wheelie bin. Compost and leaves and everything went on top. and basically it's just a continuous cycle now of things decompose at the bottom. I top them up, they keep decomposing, they turn to the water. That water then is nutrients for the plant, and it goes round and round, and there's a few holes so it doesn't fill up too much, so it can't overflow, but I can also shut the lid if it rains too much. And it's worked really well with my pumpkins. I've always done all right in there. I've got sweet corn growing all right in there this year. Well, I had sweet corn growing all right, and it tasted beautiful. So yeah, sweet corn, 4 sweet corn plants in a wheelie bin, with a pumpkin and some tomatoes. And so you're thinking that sort of space, 4 sweet corn plants, a pumpkin plant and tomatoes. But because it was vertical and because all the nutrients are packed down, it works. Anyway, so if you got this far in this video, you are now in the club. You know how to grow vegetables in a really small space before anyone else. Hello, Mr. Robin. But if you got bored by me, you forgot that little tip. Do you know what? I might even do a little sketch and I'll pop it up here somewhere and try it. I reckon you could do it with anything. Oil drums, or obviously if they're clean, anything tall and deep. And it's just almost like a self-watering system, really. And there's no equipment other than a plastic barrel, essentially, and a drill to put a couple of holes in. That's it. Oh, and you got to keep your food scraps. So yeah, I tried some sweet potatoes before I got sidetracked, and let's have a look what we got. There we go, look. So I did grow sweet potatoes. I did grow them. They're there. They're not exactly monsters, are they? No. Just proves though that I can grow a sweet potato. Oh, my yacon. My yacon almost died last winter. So this year, the sole purpose of the yacon was just to basically grow a yacon so I can split it next year and look after it. So it's been grown in the greenhouse this year. I'm not going to harvest it. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to let all the goodness go back into the yacon plant. I'm going to cover it over with some manure and some mulch. Next year, hopefully that will start growing, and when it grows, I can split it and I can have multiple yacons again. Because I don't want to have to buy another yacon, and I was down to 1 plant, so I didn't want to risk planting that and then getting killed by the frost like it did 2 years ago. So I'm trying to save my yacon. Anyway, crack on, do another job. So I was going to go and get some bark, because I do need to fill up the rest of my compost bins, and obviously put some more bark down where it's all wet, especially in this corner. But I thought I'd do a few more of the potatoes as it's wet, because as those first few tubs had some decent potatoes in there, I don't want to risk losing my small harvest. So let's get a few more of these potatoes out. It's a job done anyway. It's not the job I wanted to do today, but it's still a job ticked off the list. In fact, make it easy for myself. Oh, make it more difficult for myself. Whoa, maybe all right. They needed a little bit longer to fatten up, but they be clean and they look tasty. And I've got some fantastic compost here. With some fantastic worms in it. You're doing well, aren't you? Get another one. Oh, it's so wet here. So wet. It's wetter than an otter's pocket. It really is. I need to take the slabs up that are there, rebark it, and then put the slabs back down again. I have to do that every couple of years because of how wet it gets, but it means I get a firm footpath. What we got in here? Can't even remember what I planted now. These were, and there was some Albert Bartlett, which I think was the red ones, but were they Red Duke of York? They were Red Duke of York, I think. I have to look back on my old video. mean, I know it might seem like a lot of effort, this, for what is such a small amount of potatoes, considering what everyone else does on YouTube. But this is like the most cheapest, laziest way I've found to grow potatoes. Like I said, the compost I use isn't particularly the best. I use a lot of soil conditioner and other stuff. But I'm not just growing potatoes. I'm also making good seed compost and stuff. And we all know how bad that is. And also the good thing is with this, now I know this is my compost from my garden with my microorganisms and my insects and stuff in it that I'm probably pissing off for doing this with. And so when I use this to pot up, I don't know, strawberries, raspberries, pumpkins, whatever, I know it's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. It smells good too. It doesn't smell chemically like a lot of stuff does now that you buy in bags. Has a horrible tinge to it. It's almost like a tarry smell. I think it's the dye they put in to make the compost look blacker than it is. Oh, this is a heavy one. Is it heavy because it's potatoes, or is it heavy because there's water down there? Oh, this might be the last one of the day, folks. Because that is heavy. Oh, my word, that's heavy. I didn't enjoy lifting that. I didn't enjoy lifting that at all. Oh, that hurt now, it's waterlogged in it. It's a good job I did take these out. That's how much water's down in there. It's waterlogging the pots. Not. I suppose potatoes like water. They do swell up. I often find though when potatoes get too fat and they swell up too much, what you gain in mass, you lose in flavour and quality because you dilute everything down a bit. I think. I'm sure some scientists there think that's not how they work, Ross. But I don't know. I think you can. It's like apples. Certain types of apple I consider to be water bags. They look big, crunchy and tasty, and you bite into them and it's just water. Whereas if you get a little Cox's Orange Pippin or something, which is smaller than, let's say, a Golden Delicious, but you bite into it and it's denser and it's packed full of flavour. So yeah, and I find that same thing happens with potatoes. I think sometimes when you get a potato that's that size, golf ball size, or even a bit bigger, they're just like perfection. Oh, let's try one more. Let's try one more. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Almost got killed by a sunflower then. Crikey. Yeah, waterlogged. Probably a good job I am pulling them out. Good size and nice baker that, isn't it? Never going to get every potato out of here, and I know I'm going to get potatoes growing and stuff, but like I've said, I don't mind. I consider them to be free potatoes. And I like finding free potatoes. I love it when I'm digging in the flower bed and there's been some compost that I've used that I've obviously missed some potato, and you get a free potato and you pull it up like that and you find, I don't know, so you're rooting in your roses and you pull it up and you find like that, and you've got like, you know, 4 ounces of potato, and you're like, wow, free potatoes, man. I love that. It's not bad, is it? Not bad at all. Whew. Fortunately, I've not got my car today, so I'll leave these in the greenhouse to dry out a bit. and then I'll get them in the week when I want them. I'll have a sit down, have a drink of lemonade, and I'll be back in a mow. I've got a few more things to do. I need a rest, and I'm going to enjoy the sun now it's creeping around onto my plot. Ugh. Compost doesn't taste as nice as it smells. Right folks, well that's probably it for another growing season. There's a lot of prep now, and I probably harvested everything I've got to harvest, apart from a bit of kale. As you can see there, the sweet corn wasn't the best, was it? But yeah, I'll be down again in a couple of weeks, moving more bark, doing some pruning of my apple trees. This wasn't me, by the way. Those tyre tracks are not mine. You can't blame me for those ones. But it's been a wetting, as you'll see from the footage coming up. I was walking to my grandparents, and thankfully, just as I got stuck, they rocked up in their little SUV and they were able to save me, because it was wetter than an otter pocket.